In a certain area of the Pacific Ocean, there is an extremely deep part with thousands of meters. Countless ships have mysteriously disappeared here over the centuries. A luxurious cruise ship appears in these waters, and the wealthy passengers on board are enjoying the opulent maritime lifestyle. The owner, Simon, is quite pleased with the ship, believing it to be an unsinkable palace at sea. However, they are unaware that a catastrophe is approaching. At this moment, a beautiful woman in red enters the party hall. Trillian is a notorious pirate with a long criminal record. She simply walks past the captain and easily steals his wallet. She then uses the key card inside to enter the vault. Just as Trillian is happily holding an invaluable diamond necklace, Simon, Captain Atherton, and others suddenly appear. No one can imagine that such a beautiful girl is actually a thief. There are no cells on the cruise ship, so as the only option, they place Trillian in the storage room. In the next scene, we meet John. He is the captain of a speedboat, and a group of mercenaries approaches his crew to transport a batch of goods. However, the mechanic Joey accidentally discovers that they are actually torpedoes, and he is brutally beaten by the mercenaries. Fortunately, John arrives in time to resolve the crisis. With enough torpedoes to sink an aircraft carrier and well-equipped mercenaries, it is clear that this business is not simple. John feels that something big is happening. As expected, a mysterious person infiltrates the control room of the cruise ship and uses hacking techniques to drive the ship's systems, including the radar, crazy. Just when everyone is puzzled, a crew member suddenly discovers a giant creature rapidly approaching. Then, the sea monster violently collides with the bottom of the ship, causing the entire tanker to shake violently, and people are thrown around by this immense force. On the other side, the mercenaries on John's boat also begin their action. At this point, they are busy installing a torpedo launcher on the bow of the ship. John instantly feels that something is terribly wrong. Suddenly, the radar emits a warning. Due to the proximity, John cannot avoid and collides with a speedboat that fell from the cruise ship, rendering the ship's engine completely useless. Fortunately, the torpedoes on board do not explode. After the commotion subsides, the crew, through binoculars, spots the luxurious cruise ship. And at this moment, the mercenaries are no longer disguised. Their true goal is to hijack the cruise ship ahead. The mercenaries board eager to make a fortune. However, the situation is not as they anticipated. On the huge cruise ship, not a single soul is in sight. It seems everyone has vanished into thin air, leaving only extensive bloodstains on the floor. The sinister scene does not deter the money-hungry mercenaries. They are only focused on quickly finding valuable treasures and making a swift exit. On the small boat, Layla is busy repairing the big hole caused by the collision. Suddenly, a body emerges in the sea, and Layla is stunned. On the other side, Trillian, who was confined in the storage room, woke up without any knowledge of what was happening outside. She was still thinking about the wealth on the cruise ship. After destroying the electronic door, she once again reached the vault door but was caught by the mercenaries. Hanover, without any sense of compassion, rudely interrogated Trillian about what had happened on the cruise ship. The mercenary named Vivo nearby couldn't resist using the key card to open the vault door, but he was met with an axe to the head. The mercenaries were perplexed by the sudden situation and opened fire, killing those inside instantly. Simon, who narrowly escaped death, frantically kept mentioning the existence of monsters on the cruise ship. Hanover naturally wouldn't believe such nonsense. A mercenary observed the seawater continuously bubbling as if something was underneath it. In his confusion, a powerful force dragged him directly into the water, and no matter how much he struggled, he couldn't break free. At this point, everyone finally realized the gravity of the situation. These monsters lurked beneath the surface of the water, dragging the passengers of the cruise ship to become their prey. To avoid becoming snacks for the monsters, they had to leave quickly. While everyone crowded into an elevator to escape, an unexpected guest descended from above. The elevator couldn't bear the weight, and everyone's hearts trembled as it fell rapidly. Fortunately, they emerged unscathed. When they regained their senses, the horrifying scene before them chilled everyone's spine. Bloodstains covered the walls, and skeletal remains were everywhere, as if they had been devoured and then vomited out half digested. And while everyone shivered in fear, they saw that the horror was not over. The sea monster continued to batter the steel plates. However, at the critical moment, the monster suddenly stopped its movements. John and Hanover gathered their courage and approached to investigate. Just when someone crushed the skull with a foot, the sea monster that heard the noise became violent again. This scared them, and they began firing their weapons while retreating to a safe area. At this point, John finally realized that Simon and the mercenaries were in cahoots. Simon, under immense pressure and debt, conspired with the mercenaries to defraud the insurance, deliberately causing malfunctions in the cruise ship's systems and pretending it was a maritime disaster. The mercenaries were then supposed to loot the ship. However, an unexpected giant sea monster had disrupted this seemingly perfect plan. They realized that the cruise ship's systems are destroyed, preventing them from sending a distress signal. Unfortunately, the scheduled rescue is a day away. Amid the crisis, everyone is involved in heated discussions about the escape plan. However, the imminent sea monster has not ceased its movements. Joey's discovery left everyone stunned. When a colossal and terrifying sea monster appeared above Joey, John acted quickly and fired with his machine gun, and the shots pierced the sea monster's body. The horrifying scene that followed chilled everyone's spine. A teammate who had been swallowed was still alive, though half digested, emitting painful screams. Terrified by this macabre spectacle, they firmly fired their weapons and launched a frenzied attack on the sea monster. However, this terrifying sea monster seemed to be everywhere like a ghost, and they couldn't escape no matter where they fled. In their moment of despair, John crossed paths with Trillian. Trillian heard that John had a small boat, and she promised to fulfill any of his requests if he could help her escape this terrible place. Just as John was contemplating this offer, the sea monster suddenly reappeared. John was startled and fell to the ground. The sea monster's tentacles were full of sharp teeth, and although it lacked eyes, it was exceptionally sensitive to sound. Even the slightest noise could identify its location. The sea monster then opened its enormous mouth and launched a fierce attack on John. At the last moment, Trillian drew a pistol and fired several shots at the sea monster, driving it away. To thank Trillian for saving his life, John promises to take her to safety. However, Captain Atherton was not so lucky. His legs were grabbed by the sea monster, and his life was at stake. Hearing his cries for help, John and Trillian rushed to rescue Captain Atherton, facing a colossal sea monster that could only be watched as the tragedy unfolded before their eyes. Enraged, the group fired incessantly at the sea monster, temporarily driving it away, granting a moment of relief. However, Simon revealed horrifying information to them. He said that the tentacles they witnessed were probably only a small part of the greater danger. The way the sea monster fed was exceptionally terrifying. It first drained the human body with its tentacles and then regurgitated the bones. To avoid becoming the sea monster's dinner, they needed to return immediately to John's small boat and escape. Of course, the path ahead was treacherous. The only passage leading to the exit had already been submerged by seawater. John gathered Hanover and another mercenary to investigate the route while the rest waited in place. After a short exploration, the mercenary discovered a severed hand, indicating that the sea monster was nearby. As expected, those on land did not receive good news. The sea monster was approaching, and numerous gigantic tentacles attacked them relentlessly. Joey, frightened, hurriedly closed the hatch, but the sea monster's force was terrifying, and even a sturdy steel door couldn't stop it. They fired frantically, jumping one after another into the water, but the water was equally dangerous. Mason, swimming in the rear, had the misfortune of being caught by the sea monster. Realizing escape was impossible, he detonated a grenade. While they were discussing their next steps, the cunning sea monster discovered their whereabouts. A terrifying tentacle appeared behind Mulligan. Fear was etched on his companions' faces. Mulligan quickly turned and launched a wild and fierce attack, channeling his accumulated anger into vengeful bullets, providing an outlet for his fury. Taking advantage of the opportunity, the others quickly fled. The wounded sea monster hurriedly escaped through the ventilation ducts. Mulligan mocked loudly, but another tentacle emerged from an unknown location, swallowing Mulligan whole. The others, led by John, fled hastily. They were surprised to discover that this sea monster was unusually intelligent. The sea monster continuously closed the hatches along their escape route, clearly intending to drive them towards the ship's bow. Simon pointed out the route to the bow and quietly slipped away. When they reached the bow, they witnessed an unforgettable scene: several remains of bodies devoured by the sea monster. Suddenly, a strange noise was heard from below, and the massive figure of the sea monster emerged from the ship's bottom, causing a huge flood of seawater. They had no choice but to retreat. Simon, the scoundrel, closed the escape hatch. The speed of the sea monster in the water was astonishing. To escape, Hanover injured Joey's leg. Panicking, Joey dove into a nearby corridor to narrowly escape the attack. Limping, he reached a room where a hand suddenly grabbed him from behind. Hanover, in agony and trembling, was being brutally bitten by the sea monster in his lower body. Witnessing Hanover's torment, the compassionate Joey chose to help. Joey handed a pistol to Hanover, hoping he could end his suffering on his own. But the ruthless Hanover shot Joey. Hanover never imagined that the bullet he just fired at Joey would be the last. The mercenaries were exterminated, but the question remained how John and the others could kill the sea monster and escape the cruise ship. Fortunately, an unexpected opportunity presented itself. Through the torrential rain, they glimpsed a small island not far away. John suddenly remembered the torpedoes left by the mercenaries, which could be used against the sea monster. John instructed Trillian to find a motorboat to prepare for the trip to the small island. He placed the torpedo in the boat and switched the steering mode to automatic. As long as the boat could follow a predetermined course and collide with the cruise ship, the sea monster could be eliminated. With everything ready, as they prepared to steer the motorboat towards the island, the entire cruise ship began to shake violently. The sea monster used its tremendous strength to break through the ship's bottom, revealing its colossal true form, a giant octopus. As they contemplated their escape, the sea monster extended its powerful tentacles, capturing John. Despite his efforts, he couldn't break free. At that moment, the fierce sea monster opened its mouth full of fangs, ready to swallow John. Taking the opportunity, John kept shooting at the sea monster, making it disoriented for a while. With this, they then tried to flee the scene quickly. Meanwhile, Simon reached the ship's edge and noticed John's boat leaving. Not wanting to miss the last chance to escape, he jumped from a considerable height, only to break a leg upon landing. Simultaneously, John and Trillian, luckily, found a jet ski. As the cruise ship was about to explode, the sea monster blocked the exit. Panicking, they quickly turned to find another escape route. The sea monster relentlessly pursued them from behind. John and Trillian, in perfect collaboration, ran and fought. Unfortunately, the corridor was blocked by an elevator, but John hit the switch, successfully opening it. After passing through, they left the sea monster behind. The injured Simon desperately crawled to the control room, hoping to find a way to survive. However, he discovered that the boat was set to autopilot, and no matter what he tried, he couldn't cancel the mode. The boat, loaded with torpedoes, was approaching the cruise ship, and Simon, in his unfortunate state, could only watch helplessly as he headed towards death. On the other hand, John and Trillian, favored by luck, managed to leave the cruise ship just in time. It must be said that the 9 torpedoes left by the mercenaries were formidable, effortlessly demolishing the huge cruise ship. With the ship's destruction, the sea monster was instantly reduced to pieces. After a night of horrific experiences, John and Trillian successfully reached the small island. Their relationship quickly blossomed. Originally intending to live a carefree life on the island, their plans were interrupted by the unexpected appearance of Joey, who was still alive. However, unbeknownst to them, an even bigger surprise awaited them. Suddenly, terrifying roars echoed from the island, and the suspense of what kind of monster it could be remained unknown, showing that clearly, John and Trillian's adventure was far from over.